Everyone tells you to follow the rules, do as you're told, go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house, raise a family. Then after working for 40 years of your life, then maybe you can enjoy it for a little while before you die. I think that at one point in time, maybe that made sense. Maybe before the internet. Maybe when our only option was to work the same job forever. But times have changed. We live in a different day and age now. And I've also started to realize that a lot of the things that we've been told don't need to apply to me. And I don't think they need to apply to you either. I've also been able to see things for what they are. Crazy to think that 100 years ago, to take a trip to the other side of the world would have taken you months, and it would have been a strenuous journey. Now that same trip is less than a day on a plane. Crazy to think that we have the ability now to work from wherever we want to work, and we have options on how we make our income now. We no longer need to be confined to a cube. We don't need to commute day in and day out just to be in the office to make our boss happy so that they can micromanage us. It's a different day and age. Some people want to say it's a privilege to be able to do what we're doing. I don't disagree, but I've worked hard to have that privilege. Considering where I've come from and what I've been able to do in such a short amount of time with no education, no silver spoon, not really too many options. In this day and age of the internet where you can learn anything you want to learn and do anything that you want to do because you have the world's knowledge at your fingertips, everyone can be as privileged as I am to do what I'm doing. My biggest fear was that I wouldn't be able to live my dreams and cross off everything on my bucket list. Another one of my fears was to raise my kids to just do what they're told, raise them to be another cog in the wheel. I want them to have options too. I want them to see that the world isn't a big scary place and they don't have to just stay in the same town their whole lives, that they can explore, see different cultures, learn new languages, meet new people. Maybe that'll give them a little perspective into how the world really is. Because for so long I was told that it was a big scary place and that I should be careful. Funny that a lot of those people that are telling me to be careful now with my decisions didn't really care what I was doing a few years ago. They only seem to want to give you advice when you're doing something that breaks away from the norm, when you're doing something that they don't particularly agree with, when you're doing something that's not what they think should be done. That's when everyone wants to give you advice. That's when everyone wants to show concern. I don't think that they do it to be malicious, and I do think that they have good intentions, but it's hard to take advice from people that live lives that I don't want to live. This last week, my family and I have started the adventure of a lifetime. We got one-way tickets to Southeast Asia, starting in Cambodia, and we don't know where we're going to end up. I'm going to try really hard to make it work this time. I'm going to put as much energy and effort as I have to make sure that I succeed. Life is a big scary ride and none of us make it out alive. So why not try to make the most of it while we're here? Maybe I'm just a victim of too much social media glamorizing this digital nomad lifestyle and this alternative way of living that most people don't think is really possible. Maybe I'm foolish for being a dreamer and trying to live this dream. But what are my other options? Doing what I'm supposed to do, waiting until I retire in order to enjoy my life, playing it safe. A good friend of mine once told me that he doesn't want to tiptoe through life to arrive at a safe death. And I get it now. I don't want to do that either. Taking calculated risks, going on adventures to try to make the most out of this life seems like the right decision to make right now. And it's definitely what I really want to try to do. That bucket list of mine just kept getting longer and longer and longer, and I wasn't crossing anything off of it. I'm not saying that I'm not worried about my future, but knowing how unpredictable life can be, I don't know if that future will ever come, but I know that I'm going to live the life that I want to live now and give my family the experiences that I want them to have now and not sit around waiting for someday. That someday syndrome that we have, it's so silly for us to think that someday is a thing. I don't want to wait for someday to do the things I want to do and to go on the adventures I want to have and to see the places I want to see and to meet the people I want to meet and to do the things I want to do. Someday just doesn't come. I grew up with people who are still waiting around for someday. You got to go out and get it. You got to go after your bucket list. You have to go after the things that you want to do and the things you want to accomplish. You can't sit around waiting for things to fall on your lap. And I'm not 100% sure where I heard this before, but hell is dying and going to the pearly gates and then being played a video of your life and what it could have been had you actually gone out and done the things that you were supposed to do versus the life that you did end up living by not living up to your full potential. It makes me really think about the whole idea of living my bucket list now. And my wife and I talk about these things, and we talk about our kids, and we talk about how we want to raise them, and we talk about the lived experiences that we want to have by the time that they're older and they move out or they go and start their own families or their own lives. What do we want our memories with our children to be? What do we want our bucket list to look like? We want our kids to be a part of our bucket list. That's the thing. We want to have all those little bucket list items, and with a little asterisk or in parentheses next to those items, we want to do them with our kids. At least most of them, right? Because why the hell else would you have kids? Just to raise them so they can move out and then go do their own thing? Like, yeah, I know that's what most people do. And I know that many people do have experiences with their children, but we do live in a society where it gets stuck in this hamster wheel of life, and it's just kind of go to work, go to school, come home and spend a little time together, and then that's it. And then when you hear statistics of how much time you actually end up spending with your kids, I don't want to spend such little time with my kids, or at least I want to make the time that I do spend with them as meaningful as possible. And then I start thinking about the bucket list, and I start thinking about my kids, and I start thinking about my family, and I start thinking about life and how in the blink of an eye it can all go away. And then I think about living the dream. Been thinking about this a lot lately because I'm kind of trying to do that now. You have the Instagram version of the dream, and then you have the reality of the dream. Of course, if you have half a brain, you'll know that the Instagram life isn't real, but you'll have like a itch telling yourself that you still kind of want that. And maybe it's the fantasy of it. Maybe it's the idea of that dream that makes it so alluring. Some of us genuinely don't want it. But then some of us, like me and my wife, keep questioning, like, why aren't we living that dream? Why aren't we exploring the world with our kids? Why aren't we exposing them to different cultures and different ways of life and just living life to its fullest with our children? It's been a week since we left the US, and we've been in Cambodia. And so far we've seen ancient architecture. We've hung out with local people, and we've made sure to immerse ourselves in the culture. We try to bestow wisdom and knowledge to our children who are young and don't really understand why some people live the way they live, and letting them understand the privilege that we have for being lucky to be born where we were born and to be privileged enough to do what we're doing now, because not many people get to do this. But at the same time, also teaching them that they can live the lives that they want, and that doing the things that we're doing aren't as hard as everybody makes it out to be. So many people think that this is like such a challenging and difficult thing to do, and it is in some ways, but it's also not. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and we look back at that bucket list and we're like, man, we've crossed everything off, or we've crossed almost everything off. I think that will be a much better feeling than looking back and seeing a long list of things that we wish we would have done. And we realize now that we have to get out of our comfort zone in order to accomplish the things that we want to do, and in order to continue to cross those things off of our bucket list. And that's what we're doing. We're growing as individuals, we're growing as a family, and we're doing things that are making us happy. And my kids have been having a blast. My wife and I have been having a blast. We're bonding more. We're spending a lot of time together. We're going on adventures, and we're just really enjoying life. Maybe I'll grow old and my kids might not have a whole bunch of stuff that they might want to add to their bucket list after we're done with this, but it sure feels a lot better than just having a list that piles up that you don't get to because life passed you by and you got too old and it's too late. I'm making this video maybe to motivate or inspire people out there that don't think it's possible. I'll tell you like this. 10 years ago, doing something like this was literally a fantasy, a dream, a nice to do, but highly unlikely that it would ever happen. But here I am now on this wild ride, ready to see how far this dream will take me. All right, with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna make sure to continue updating people as I continue my travels with my family. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.